3 times the series champion, twice the most popular driver, once a winner of the Daytona 500. In his 29-year career, Darrell Waltrip scored 84 wins, which is tied for the third most all-time, depending on who you ask. His outspoken, wisecracking attitude changed NASCAR's media complexion not just once, but twice. DW's transition from one career to another came in the year 2000, one of NASCAR's most turbulent seasons. It was a year of frustrations endured and obstacles overcome. This is that story. In my last video, I talked about the closing years of Waltrip's career, how he went from car owner to relief driver to a driver for another team. The story of that team, Haas-Carter Motorsports, requires a deeper understanding, as both driver and team had crossed paths before. On February 19, 1989, the same day Waltrip scored his lone Daytona 500, an unsponsored Chevrolet driven by Rick Mast led 9 laps and finished 6th. The car was owned by Mach 1 Racing, the same team founded by Hal Needham and Burt Reynolds, which hired Harry Gant in 1981. Gant won his first 9 races with the team, whose green Skull Bandit number 33 became one of the most iconic cars on the track. So iconic, in fact, that when Gant decided to drive Oldsmobiles for the Jackson brothers in 1989, the sponsor, number, and paint scheme went along with him. Crew chief Travis Carter stayed behind and hired Mast to drive the car at Daytona. Carter had been in NASCAR for almost as long as the driver he would later hire. Born and raised in Ellerbe, North Carolina, hometown of Benny Parsons, he found himself joining Parsons on the LG DeWitt team in 1973. They won the championship together that year, culminating with their improbable rally from an early wreck at Rockingham. In 1976, Carter served as crew chief for Bobby Allison, tuning the AMC Matadors fielded by Roger Penske. He also worked with Dave Marcus before Mach 1 brought him on board in 1981, first with Stan Barrett and then with Gant. The strong start by Rick Mast brought new sponsorship from Banquet Frozen Foods in '89, but only enough money to run a partial season. Carter then bought the team and rehired Mast in late 1990 to form Travis Carter Enterprises. Banquet returned as sponsor and continued into 1991 when Jimmy Spencer took over as driver. At North Wilkesboro on April 21, 1991, the same day Darrell Waltrip won his first race as an owner-driver since 1975, Spencer led 70 laps and finished 3rd. Only twice would the team ever finish any better. Spencer had returned to drive for Carter in 1995 and was still with the team 3 years later when Carl Haas became co-owner. On December 3, 1998, Carter and Haas hired Waltrip to drive their new second team. With new sponsorship from Big Kmart, the car would carry the number 66. While the number was selected to represent the store's Route 66 line of casual clothing, it would also prove a throwback to Carter's time as crew chief for Rick Mast in 1989. Unfortunately, the combination didn't quite work out. The first 12 races of the 1999 season, Waltrip sat just 28th in points, with a best finish of 12th at Martinsville. He then failed to qualify for the next race at Dover. Less than 3 weeks later, with still more than half the season remaining, rumors were already swirling that Waltrip would retire. The announcement came on August 5th, just before the 20th race of the season at Indianapolis. During a media event with black and white checkered flag curtains and balloons scattered around his new look number 66, Waltrip announced that the 2000 season would be his last. While originally rumored to be called the Road Trip of a Lifetime, the name of his final season was changed to DW's Victory Tour 2000. When asked about his goals for the Victory Tour, Waltrip was of 2 minds. He first said, "There will be certain races next year on certain tracks where I will have a chance to win. A Victory Tour without a victory would be a farce. If I didn't honestly think I was capable of winning, I wouldn't race." He would later walk this back and say it was more about the past than the present. "The Victory Tour was about the races that I've won and the places that I've been," he said. As part of the tour, Waltrip would do autograph signings at Kmart's across the country. These race zones would also feature Q&A sessions and giveaways. Fans could also sign up for the Darrell Waltrip fan club for $10. The information could be found at Waltrip's website, whose domain name dw17.com had remained unchanged since his team closed 2 years earlier. For that weekend's Brickyard 400, the number 66 team sold retirement merchandise that would pull them from the shelves until the following season. Those who picked up this gear saw Waltrip finish 42nd in the race, out with handling problems. Not everyone was on board with Waltrip's retirement tour. In an article for NASCAR Winston Cup Scene, journalist Gene Granger believed Waltrip was simply trying to cash in on his career, citing the $60 million generated during Richard Petty's Fan Appreciation Tour 8 years earlier. His is strictly a money tour, Granger wrote. Instead of shaming fans into contributing to his wealth, sponsor Kmart should give Waltrip a store or two, and then we could go on about our business. In response, Larry Woody pointed out Waltrip was the one who helped make NASCAR so profitable. At the time of his retirement, Waltrip's career earnings were just over half of Jeff Gordon's. Later that month at Bristol, Waltrip would have a hand in a controversial finish. When Jeremy Mayfield wrecked on the backstretch, Waltrip tried to get his lap back from leader Terry Labonte when the two made contact.
And Terry Labonte, the leader, is spinning, and Dale Earnhardt takes the lead.
Waltrip's teammate Jimmy Spencer finished second that night, making contact with Dale Earnhardt as he crossed the stripe. Following his retirement announcement, Waltrip failed to qualify for another 6 of the remaining 14 races. Travis Carter himself took over for Felipe Lopez as crew chief, and other drivers were brought on to help shake down the car. In the fall race at Dover, Elton Sawyer came over from the Busch Series to run a few laps. At Atlanta, Robbie Gordon turned down a similar offer when the co-owner of his team talked him out of it. Jimmy Spencer took the wheel and ran 7/10 quicker than Waltrip. Despite this, Waltrip still failed to qualify for both races. During the Atlanta weekend, Waltrip said in an interview that he might not return to even attempt the Victory Tour. He later took this back and blamed it on his understandable frustration. What may have buoyed his spirits were negotiations with Fox Sports, which on November 11th purchased their 8-year contract to cover the first half of the Winston Cup schedule. The rumor popped up on December 19, 1999, then was confirmed on February 14, 2000. Waltrip was the first person Fox hired to be on their team. It was a big boost for him personally as well as professionally. The first 2 months of the year would see the passing of Waltrip's father on January 10th, then his mother-in-law on February 28th. As with his 25th anniversary celebration in 1997, Waltrip would run several different paint schemes throughout the 2000 season. The showstopper was the Flame Car, which would run in 11 of the 34 races, starting with the Daytona 500. Ultimately would run at least 4 more events. A shimmering chrome car would then run in the All-Star race at the Lowe's Motor Speedway in Charlotte. The remaining races would see slightly altered versions of the 1999 scheme, though with the Victory Tour logo still on the hood. All of these cars would be powered by Robert Yates engines, an upgrade from the Pro Motors engines of the previous season. Larry Carter would take over for his uncle as crew chief. It would be Larry's first season atop the pit box, though he'd worked as Jimmy Spencer's car chief the year before. Still another scheme would only run in the season-opening Budweiser Shootout, the NASCAR 500 scheme with shades of blue and reflective gold numbers. While Waltrip had won the shootout in 1981, he would this time have to qualify for the main event through the 25-lap Budweiser Shootout qualifier. On February 13th, 8 days after Waltrip's 53rd birthday, he started 7th and made a statement early.
Very important to find out how your car will operate for the twin 125s on Thursday, and already we're seeing some movement. They're 4 wide, 3 wide going into turn number 1.
DW down on the apron of the racetrack. Right now they're 3 wide. Spitzer on the outside, Freedom in the middle, and Jeff Burton on the bottom.
Waltrip led 2 laps during pit stops and finished in 4th, but only race winner Dale Jarrett transferred into the main event.
With Darrell Waltrip, that's supposed to be a fun race, but it was only fun for one guy today.
Oh, if I was up on the truck watching that race and I was in this next one, I'd just go to him, bring the car back in. Hey, that cat's on the road right now. That thing is flying, and I ran alongside of him there for a long time, and I thought, hey, this ain't too bad, but as soon as he cleared me, man, he took off like he had an afterburner. So anyway, I'm happy with my car. I had a good car. I was able to race and got off to a pretty good start here. Really decent pit stop, you know, and so overall I'm pretty pleased with what we did.
Waltrip was reportedly more excited than sad at the prospect of his final speed weeks. Tracy Schleans, who along with Linda Monroe wrote Waltrip's weekend reports for the team website, captured this anticipation. DW has talked about Victory Lane throughout Speed Weeks 2000, despite how hard the team has struggled to get their Ford Taurus to run as good as many of the other Fords. Some might call it fantasy, or the musings of a past champion, but Darrell Waltrip knows he can still win, and that's what just might get him to Victory Lane one last time. With the growth of his Haas-Carter Motorsports team, the 2000 Victory Tour will certainly be exciting.
In 1965, Darrell Waltrip first came to Daytona to race in a preliminary event. In 1989, he won the biggest of all, the Daytona 500. This weekend, he prepares for his final Daytona 500 weekend. What's it feel like to have all this stuff looking in the rearview mirror?
A lot of history, a lot of time, 30 years, and I've had a love-hate relationship with Daytona. No place you'd rather win. It's the granddaddy of them all, the big one, the Super Bowl, as they say. But I don't feel the emotion I thought I was going to feel. I believe if I get out there and I run good and I get to be real competitive and get a little racy, then I think the regrets are going to start to pop up. But I got to get out there and do that first. And I got some good equipment this year, and the Kmart team's done a pretty good job of getting me squared away here. I'm anxious. Even though it's my last year, it's like, well, it's my last year. Maybe it'll be my last best year I've ever had. And I got to tell you something, Dick. If I don't win a race this year, I'm going to quit.
The first run for the Flame car came in Bud Pole qualifying for the Daytona 500. A Fox Sports logo was added to the driver's door.
Darrell Waltrip from Franklin, Tennessee, the three-time Winston Cup champion, embarking on what he describes as his 2000 victory tour, his final season in Winston Cup racing. In 780 starts, he has 84 wins, 59 poles, and a total of 112 front row starts. That's about 1 out of every 7 races in his career. This being Darrell's final season, he's come up with that particular name for it. We asked him about that and about his outlook for 2000.
Darrell Waltrip Victory Tour. That's the name of it, Victory Tour 2000. And I believe, there's a lot of people that would disagree, but I believe we can do it. We've got Yates engines this year, which are a lot better than I had last year. My team is a year old. We worked real hard on our pit crew. We've revamped that. We got better pit crew. The new Taurus, the 2000 Taurus, I believe is a little bit better car than what we had last year. So all in all, I believe we'll have a pretty good year. I believe we'll be competitive, and I believe Martinsville, Bristol, Pocono, Michigan, someplace like that, we might surprise some people.
Wouldn't surprise me any. I've raced against him, and I tell you, there's a lot of talent there. A lot of people say, that he's lost it, but when he drove the one car for Steve Park when he was injured, he was right up front. He had several top 10 finishes, so he's not washed up. He's just going to quit.
He believes he can do it, and that's the most important part. Darrell Waltrip times in 32nd fastest on his first lap, 186.193.
Lost his dad a few weeks ago. One of the real popular persons in the sport of auto racing after he retired from his job, Leroy Waltrip.
A fellow who was very proud of his two sons' accomplishments in racing and didn't hesitate to let you know it.
No, that's the truth.
A great fellow to be around.
Certainly was. Well, picked it up on his second lap as he went into turn 3. So let's see if he can get himself up there about 188 or somewhere in that neighborhood.
The 1981, 82, and 85 Winston Cup champion, Darrell Waltrip, moves from 32nd on the board up to 24th, 187.641 miles per hour.
Waltrip's lap would place him 28th in Race 1 of the Gatorade Twin 125s, significant since all 4 of his wins in the qualifiers came in Race 2. He gained just 4 spots in the race, finishing 24th. Needing a provisional, this put Waltrip 43rd and last on the grid for the Daytona 500. Although his fellow Ford drivers dominated Sunday's race, Waltrip lost his first of 3 laps on the 85th circuit and managed to finish just 32nd. Next was Rockingham, where Waltrip had won 4 times before. The track named a road on the property after him, and he qualified a strong 10th, but in the race, Waltrip finished 39th, 14 laps down. Las Vegas was next on the schedule for March 5th, one of 9 tracks on the 2000 calendar where Waltrip had never won. Conversely, he'd won on 4 tracks that were no longer on the schedule. This time he led 2 laps, his first in a points race in 2000. But even though rain shortened the event, he still came home 2 laps down in 38th. The following round at Atlanta on March 12th saw longtime rival Dale Earnhardt edge Bobby Labonte for the victory. Waltrip, winner of 3 races at the track, fought handling issues and managed just 31st, 27 laps down. 1 week later on the 19th came the spring race at Darlington, the track that saw him win 5 times, including his most recent victory in 1992. Unfortunately, there would be no repeat. Waltrip started last and finished there, the 15th last place finish of his Cup career. While listed as out with handling problems, Waltrip had simply been dissatisfied with his car. He'd pulled into the garage early for adjustments, then parked on lap 132, believing he was getting in everyone's way. It was at this same time that Waltrip once again risked failing to qualify. While Waltrip's status as a past champion entitled him to a number of provisional starts, NASCAR rules restricted how many of these provisionals could be used for any number of races. He'd already used 4 in the first 5 races, and this would mean he would not be allowed to use another until Martinsville, which was still 3 races away. A rumor began that Travis Carter would swap Waltrip into Jimmy Spencer's car to lock him into both races. Carter denied this. "Every man's got to stand on his own 2 feet, he said on March 20th. Waltrip arrived in Bristol in late March as a man on a mission. He qualified 13th, his best start since Rockingham, solidly putting him into the race. He was honored in a charity benefit by the children of Bristol and looked forward to racing at a track where he'd won 12 times before. Unfortunately, a crash in the 3rd turn left him 25 laps down in 31st place. Texas on April 2nd was next, and this time Waltrip squeezed his way into the field, securing the 30th starting spot. While he lost 6 laps the day Dale Earnhardt Jr. won his first race, Waltrip still finished 24th, his best run of the young season. 1 week later in Martinsville, Waltrip's transmission failed after only 146 laps. When Kenny Wallace returned to the race after his frightening accident due to a stuck throttle, Waltrip dropped to the 43rd spot, the 16th and final last-place finish of his career. Waltrip used a provisional to make the following round April 16th at Talladega, where Jeff Gordon scored the 50th win of his Cup Series career. Waltrip had won there 4 times before, and in the fall would be honored with his likeness on the ticket for qualifying day, but on this day he finished 26th, 3 laps down. 2 weeks later in Southern California, Waltrip blasted around the California Speedway good enough for 7th in qualifying, his new best of the season. He also led a lap, his first since Las Vegas, but he came home in 29th, 2 laps down. 10 points races into the season, and the number 66 had yet to finish on the lead lap a single time. He was ranked 36th in points, lowest of all drivers to qualify for every race. But on May 3rd, Waltrip received a boost from his home state as the Kentucky Speedway invited him to be the Grand Marshal for the track's first race, a Truck Series event to be held on June 17th. The next race would be May 6th at Richmond, a track where Waltrip had won 6 times, all of them prior to the reconfiguration in 1988. He hadn't missed a race there since 1974, but in qualifying, Waltrip was 3rd slowest to take time. Out of provisionals for another month, Waltrip failed to qualify for the first time all season. One driver who does qualify is Jeffrey Bodine, his first start back since his serious injuries suffered 3 months earlier at Daytona. Bodine finished 13th, tied for his second best finish all year. The series returned to Charlotte for All-Star Week, where Waltrip would run his chrome car under the lights. As the inaugural winner in 1985, Waltrip would get to compete in the main event.
Is this a color scheme, Darrell? Because it's all chrome and shiny. It looked good tonight.
I know my boys back in Frankton, Tennessee are proud of me tonight. I got my chrome hot rod here. If I had chrome wheels, I'd have the full. I'd be decked out. But no, we're pretty well cocked, locked, and ready to rock. That's what we're ready to do.
Darrell, you've had some exciting moments here. You gave us a thrill by winning the inaugural one in 1985. Can you give us another thrill tonight?
Well, you know, I want it to be the right kind of thrill. I want it to be the winning kind of thrill. I don't know how we'll be. We've changed the car up dramatically from the day. It was hard to get a good handle on the car, but Kmart team's been working hard, and we're a little disappointed. We thought we got pretty much the same setup Jimmy had, and that's making us a little bit nervous because he wasn't very happy with his car, so we'll see.
Good luck and stand on it, Darrell.
Waltrip lined up 17th in the field of 20 and gave the command to start engines.
All right, you race fans, are you ready for some racing? Get up on your feet and help me get this show on the road. Gentlemen, start your engines!
Darrell Waltrip making his final tour around the world of NASCAR.
Waltrip came home on the lead lap in 11th place. A few days later saw qualifying for the Coca-Cola 600, a race Waltrip had won 5 times.
You see by our trap times, Darrell not completely up to pace. Wow, that car is jittering all over the place on him.
That's a very soft chassis there. You can see the car really wobbling around up in the groove there in the middle part of the racetrack.
Checkered flag for DW. Top 25 for DW, not today.
He will not make the cut. 1.1 seconds off the pole time. And for Darrell, 178.065, 42nd position.
Boy, oh boy.
Despite the solid run in the All-Star race and a 2-day test at the track the previous month, Waltrip failed to qualify, second slowest of 5 DNQs. Meanwhile, 32-year-old Carl Long was all smiles. In just his 4th attempt, he had locked himself into his first Cup Series race. Long had bought a year-old Ford on auction from Roush Racing, and with the help of a skeleton crew, managed to reskin the car into a current 2000 model Ford Taurus. With limited sponsorship from highway construction company St. Wooten and limited backing from Mansion Motorsports team owner Thea Dixon, Long was set to be one of the weekend's Cinderella stories. Among the drivers he outpaced in qualifying were Sterling Marlin and Terry Labonte. However, Long wasn't confident his car could run all 600 miles. "We are not prepared like we needed to be to run the race," said Long. "I don't have enough wheels to put tires on. We didn't have enough budget to buy all the tires that we needed, and our motor is down on horsepower. I raced the best piece that I had in my ARCA car last week here. The motor I've got is about a 710 horsepower motor." With Waltrip out of the race, negotiations with Long began almost immediately. "We're working on some things," said Waltrip as the rumors persisted. "Maybe somebody needs a driver. Maybe that'll work out for me, I hope." There were a couple of possibilities there. By midday on Friday, the deal had been made for Waltrip to drive in Long's place. Kmart and Victory Tour decals were added to Long's number 85 Ford, and a Robert Yates engine was dropped under the hood. While the amount of money exchanged during the deal is unknown, Jayski said similar arrangements at the time had been done for $50,000. "I'm going to do everything I can to work with the guys on the 66 team to get Darrell the best run we can give him in that car," said Long. "I think it's motivation. I can get on the radio and say, 'Darrell, I know damn well if I can drive it, you ought to be able to.'" Waltrip struggled with a loose plug wire and ignition issues to finish 36th, 14 laps down, but most importantly, he did so with the car in one piece. This delighted Long, who personally towed his car to the next race in Dover. Unfortunately, Long failed to qualify. In 2018, after Long returned to team ownership, he would campaign car number 66. Sponsorship from Rewards.com resulted in a throwback scheme to Waltrip's flame car. At Dover, the other DNQ joining Long was Kyle Petty, who that weekend returned to the Cup Series for the first time since the death of his son Adam. Waltrip, a two-time Dover winner, finished 33rd. The following 2 races in mid-June came on consecutive weeks in Michigan and Pocono, site of a combined 6 wins in Waltrip's career. But unable to use another provisional until the following round in Sonoma, Waltrip failed to qualify for both races. During this time, rumors began to swirl about who would replace Waltrip in the number 66 for 2001. On a June 10th episode of RPM Tonight came word that Greg Ray, that year's Indy 500 pole sitter, was looking into taking his place. On July 24th came Andy Houston, who looked to leave his Truck Series ride and make the jump to Cup. The next day, Houston would test the number 66 at the new Kentucky Speedway. Houston would remain the frontrunner for the ride for much of the summer, though Cal Wells was also looking to hire him for his own second team at PPI Motorsports. Meanwhile, Waltrip didn't need to use his provisional at Sonoma, where he qualified 33rd. I took this picture of Waltrip during driver introductions on June 25th. Waltrip finished 1 lap down in 28th. The next round on July 1st was the Pepsi 400 at Daytona, an event that strangely Waltrip had never won. On this night, he finished 27th, his 1989 victory in the Great American Race, now his only checkered flag in a Cup points race there. The 2000 finish proved significant, as he led under caution on lap 107 and finished on the lead lap for the first time all year. On July 7th, Kenny Irwin Jr. was killed during opening practice for the Cup Series race at New Hampshire. The outspoken Waltrip made a statement in response to Irwin's death, which came soon after that of Adam Petty in May.
Take the car, a panel of experts puts it back together. Here's what happened. The throttle hung in the floor mat, or the hot throttle hung in the firewall, or the throttle hung under the air cleaner. But something happened, and the throttle hung. There's plenty of people that saw it. So don't tell me, well, we don't know what happened.
Waltrip finished 33rd in the race, 3 laps down. July 23rd marked Waltrip's final start at Pocono, where he rebounded from his DNQ in June and lined up 41st on the grid. He finished 22nd and credited the efforts of his team to get the number 66 up to speed. This led to the following round at Indianapolis, where Waltrip stole the show in qualifying.
Darrell Waltrip
who must make this race on speed. He cannot use a provisional. His best start here came in 1997 when he lined up on the outside of the second row. His best finish was in 94 when he came home 6th.
Ray was told on the headset that Randy LaJoy made that seat that we saw in Johnny Benson's car there just a moment ago.
And as a lot of people know, Randy LaJoy is a very successful multiple champion Busch driver, so he knows a lot about what it takes to have a good, safe seat in a race car. And I know Randy's going into the seat business, and a lot of guys are now starting to switch over. Randy's seat is completely different than a traditional NASCAR seat.
Oh, DW's got a great lap going. That arrow would indicate about where we estimate he would be. Somewhere around 2nd, 4th. Can he jump it up a little bit?
Oh, he did it!
Oh, look at this! DW. 49.745 average speed, 180.923. Oh, DW be dancing the jig when he gets out, won't he?
The Ricky Shuffle will be back. That's faster than he practiced. He practiced at 180.249 and qualified at 180.923. How about that for the driver in his victory tour for the year 2000? His brother Michael among those cheering and congratulating Darrell Waltrip.
Wow.
Sounds like you need to start telling Darrell he's out of provisionals more.
Yeah, that's right. He has gotten the trick done here today.
He's the man.
Listen to the crowd and Waltrip with his hand in the air.
So evidently he had his radio on and his crew told him just how quick that lap was. Hey!
This is about as big a response during a qualifying session I can ever remember here at Indy. Darrell Waltrip has 59 pole positions, the most in the modern era. His last pole was in November of '95 at Atlanta. Will it hold up here today? We'll stay with us during the remainder of the afternoon, and we will find out. In any case, just an excellent run for old DW. Jerry?
And they continue to come over to congratulate Darrell Waltrip, trying to get unbuckled. The smile, he's smiling so wide. And listen to this, folks. Wow. And they are still screaming and cheering. They're going to back over here and try to back across will bring up. DW taking a bow here, his final time at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So much emotion. Darrell, for years they screamed and cheered, and now they're cheering again.
Oh, man. Well, I love it. You know, I like Indy. I come here with more confidence and more enthusiasm than probably anywhere we go. And I want to perform. This is a big race. Good drivers perform in big races.
The farewell, what would it mean, DW, to roll off on the pole on Saturday and to roll into victory lane as a winner at Indianapolis Motor Speedway?
I know you're not going to believe this, but I can win this race. I felt that coming up here. Robert and those guys have helped me with they've done a good job on my motors. Larry Carter, everybody's done a good job on the car, and I can win this race. I ran really good at Pocono. I didn't get the greatest finish, 22nd. But that gave me some confidence coming here because they're very similar. I like coming here. I get excited. I get pumped up. And that's a pretty good start right there.
All right, let's have you wave to this crowd, DW. They love you. Turn to this crowd and wave. Darrell Waltrip on the provisional pole with a brand new track record.
The cheering says it all. Darrell Waltrip on the provisional pole at Indy.
Came running out a moment ago to give Darrell a big hug, and Stevie, the tears, the joy. You guys have been through so much. You know these people loved him, but it's been a tough few years, and today they were able to show it.
That's right. We are just, I've never not believed in this man or his ability. And the last few years have been really rough. And this place represents to him all kinds of dreams and hopes and aspirations. And I don't know whether he'll stay on the pole or not. Doesn't matter. This moment is ours, and I'm excited about it.
You have been his rock. Go celebrate.
I have 31 years.
Stevie Waltrip, how about it? She came up and hugged Darrell. They had tears for each other, and she's wipes them away right now. Very emotional.
Yeah, there aren't very many times when you can capture emotion like we have in the last 5 minutes or so with Darrell Waltrip. What it means to him in his final appearance at Indianapolis to put himself, for the moment, on the pole.
Ricky Rudd would ultimately bump Waltrip to second place, putting 2 Robert Yates engines on the front row. Rudd did this despite an engine change. Had he not changed engines, he would have been the 3rd driver out to take time, well before Waltrip. Instead, he went out 25th. Regardless, no other driver would best Waltrip's time, at least not in the first round. This is Brett Bodine. 1 day earlier, he was just 44th fastest. 1 year earlier, he failed to qualify. And 6 years earlier, he finished second in the inaugural Brickyard 400.
Ralph's Supermarket has re-upped for the year 2001. We'll be back as the sponsor for the Brett Bodine effort.
So far, so good. Goes through turn 2. Oh, looky here. Right now, he appears to be right up with his brother, Jeffrey.
As long as that number stays in the minus category, if they're in the white box, Brett is okay, and he's even faster.
Yes, he's quicker. Good lap going for Brett Bodine.
All he needs to do is bring it out the corner and guide her down the straightaway. He's going to be in good shape. It looks like he crosses the line, takes the checkered flag, and Brett Bodine, it appears, will be in solidly. We'll wait for the final report. Yes, indeed, he's even faster than his brother.
Wow. And look at this speed, folks. 49.704. Average speed 181.072. That's a new track record.
How about that? He's faster than Ricky Rudd.
Bodine and his Ernie Elliott engine ran just 1/1000th of a second faster than Rudd, but since the lap came in the second round, he'd line up 26th. Waltrip finished 11th in his final Brickyard 400, which would stand as his best finish of the Victory Tour.
Remarkably, it has been 8 years since this legendary driver last visited the Winston Cup victory lane. As the end draws near, both Darrell and his legion of fans have hoped and prayed that somehow, just once more, he could bask in the glow of victory. Maybe today is that day.
The next week on August 13th saw Waltrip's final road course start at Watkins Glen. He finished 20th, his second best finish of the season, and his 4th in 5 races on the lead lap. But right when things looked to be turning around, he struggled once more. Waltrip failed to qualify for the next race, August 20th at Michigan. By then, Robbie Gordon had supplanted Andy Houston as the leading candidate to take over the number 66 in 2001. Gordon had been driving for his own team that season, but had yet to land sponsorship for the following year. Houston made his Cup debut for Cal Wells in the Michigan race and finished 35th. On August 26th, Waltrip made his final Bristol start under the lights. On lap 92, Mark Martin made contact with him entering turn 1, sending the number 66 into the outside wall. Waltrip returned to the track, but completed just a few more laps before handling issues left him 42nd. Thus, in the year 2000, DW's only accidents that brought out the caution flag both occurred at Thunder Valley. Waltrip's last Southern 500 came next on September 3rd, his 800th career Cup start. Over the summer, Nashville singer-songwriter Jimmy Travis composed a song honoring Waltrip in anticipation of the race. This also happened to be Travis's 4th song about Darlington. Waltrip got into the race with a provisional, and an early rain delay during pit stops on lap 35 lifted him to second place behind Dave Marcus.
You're going to lead a lap, right? Well, I'm going to go tell Marcus, hey, man, you had your fun. You had your little bit of time, not even in the sun, but anyway, you've had yours. Let me lead a lap or two here, and I'm sure he will. So that was the plan, was stay out sometime today and try to lead a lap if we could. It'd be nice to be under green, but anyway, we're not that great, but you hang around here all day long, survive this thing, and you can get a top 20 finish.
I remember about 8 years ago in the rain, DW.
Yeah, I was sitting there, and lawn chair, had my umbrella up, just singing away, just singing in the rain and hoping it wouldn't quit. Now, today it's not halfway, so it ain't going to make a whole lot of difference. I'm not going to wear myself out doing any rain dances right now, but I love Darlington. It's, you know, it's like you and I were talking, John. If you're a purist, if you're a traditionalist, if you've been in this sport as long as I have, then you know what Darlington means to the sport. It reminds me of my hometown. Every time I go back to my hometown, the rest of the world seemed to have changed, but my hometown hadn't. And that's kind of the way Darlington is. It just never changes. It's the same all the time. And if you take tapes from 50 years ago when they first run here, the drivers were complaining about the track and the walls, and it was slick, and the tires wasn't any good. I mean, you know, it ain't really changed all that much.
Marcus stayed out after the delay for a total of 12 laps before he finally came down pit road on lap 48.
Dave Marcus on the right is on pit road, and Darrell Waltrip is going to lead his final Southern 500. This is the 4th race that he has led this year in his victory tour. And we're still hoping that Darrell, before this year is out, can walk up with a victory.
And the fans recognize that, Bob. Many of them stood and cheered as he went across that start-finish line to lead in his last Southern 500.
This was the 23,134th and final lap Waltrip led in his Cup career. Electrical issues on the ensuing restarts took him out of the race after 113 laps, leaving him 42nd. For the following race at Richmond, Travis Carter hired Jeff Spraker to join the team. Spraker had transitioned from NASCAR Modifieds to an owner-driver in the Truck Series and was brought on to be Waltrip's chassis consultant. Looking to rebound from their DNQ earlier in the year, Waltrip was still unable to close the gap. He failed to qualify, denying him a chance to run at the Virginia track in his farewell season. It was Waltrip's 15th and final DNQ. That same weekend, Robbie Gordon decided to stay with his own team in 2001, though he still had not yet found a sponsor. Further rumors that Stacy Compton would drive were also squashed, as he decided to stay with Melling Racing for their switch from Ford to Dodge. Finally, on September 11th, came the first report that Todd Bodine was Carter's preferred choice. Bodine was confirmed the following week, though the official announcement wasn't until November 12th. Kmart would stay on both of Carter's cars, as the company had 2 years left on the contract. Waltrip's next green flag came in the September 17th return to New Hampshire, where his restrictor plate engine propelled him to a 29th place finish, 7 laps down. That weekend, he was penalized for an unapproved fuel system safety valve, which was caught during pre-qualifying inspection. September 24th, in his last race at Dover, Waltrip finished 31st, out with engine failure in the final 100 miles. That same race saw Carl Long make his Cup debut, 4 months after he sold his spot in the field to Waltrip. Driving an older Ford Taurus this time, Long fell out after 12 laps following a collision with Scott Pruitt. Next came Waltrip's final start at Martinsville on October 1st. He ran 21st in Friday practice, then ranked 4th of the first 11 drivers in qualifying. The resulting 18th starting spot was his best since Indianapolis. "I had a better car than that," said Waltrip after qualifying. "I locked the front tire up going into turn 1 on the second lap. That was going to be my killer lap. It was a killer all right. I killed the lap and messed it up. This is a really hard place to put it all together. The tires and the track, and it's a little hotter than it was when we practiced. Overall, I'm happy. That's a good effort. We didn't mess up." In the race, Waltrip climbed to 22nd with just 96 laps to go, but the brakes started to fail. Heat rose in the cockpit, burning his feet. He lost 3 laps in the final moments, leaving him 27th. "She whipped me today, boys," said Waltrip after the race. "The track got slicker and we got looser. I gave it all I had." On his way out the track, a group of fans applauded him. 1 week later, in the fall race at Charlotte, which he'd won just once in 1981, Waltrip endured one of his most difficult weekends of the season. In happy hour on Saturday, both an oil fitting and a shock bolt were accidentally left loose. This caused something to wear a hole on the inside of the tire, sending Waltrip hard into the wall. Waltrip injured his shoulder in the wreck, and later found he broke a rib on the right side. With no provisionals, Waltrip stood on his qualifying time from before the accident and still secured a starting spot, though he'd have to fall to the rear in a backup car. After taking some pain relievers and starting the car on Sunday's race, Waltrip's hand kept falling asleep, so new hire Todd Bodine took over on lap 90. Bodine finished 30th.
Mike Massara is with Darrell Waltrip to find out what's going on.
And Alan, you're exactly right. Todd Bodine has taken over the big Kmart ride. And Darrell Waltrip, why'd you get out?
Well, when I crashed yesterday, I hurt my shoulder, and I thought I was all right. I took a couple of goodies this morning, and I felt pretty good, but my hand keeps going to sleep, and I wasn't comfortable in the car, and this was a good opportunity to get out and let Todd get in, so I felt like I better take advantage of that now, not maybe do it under green or something. The way it turned out, he didn't fit in there very well, so that hour yesterday just turned my whole weekend upside down. Nothing's been right since, and it's unfortunate, but it's the way it is.
And certainly not the way DW would like to end his career here in Charlotte.
Waltrip was back behind the wheel at Talladega on October 15th, where he was admitted into the Talladega Walk of Fame. Prior to the race, he took a ceremonial lap around the track in the restored number 95 Mercury he drove in his first Cup race in 1972. A curious fact about this car, it was the same chassis that Mario Andretti raced to victory in the 1967 Daytona 500. Waltrip had reskinned the car from a Ford Fairlane into a Mercury. Waltrip finished 35th in the number 66, 2 laps down.
With 84 wins and 29 seasons of competition, Darrell Waltrip's career is the stuff of Winston Cup legend. Part of that legend was built right here at North Carolina Speedway, where DW won 4 times, including 3 out of the 4 races run in the 1981 and 82 seasons during his renowned years with Junior Johnson. Today, old DW will take his final laps around the rock. When Darrell Waltrip made his first laps around this racetrack, Richard Nixon was a president of the United States. And speaking of our country, the one number that is most relevant about Darrell Waltrip, he has raced over 24,000 miles on this racetrack. He could crisscross our nation 8 times. Darrell Waltrip and 42 other drivers head to the green flag just ahead in the Pop Secret 400 here on TNN.
It was a short October afternoon at Rockingham, where Waltrip lost an engine after 193 laps and finished in 37th.
Darrell, what put you out today?
It's a DNG. Does not go. I've had an intermittent miss in it for quite a while, and I think it broke a camshaft or distributor, or it might be kind of like me. It just got tired of going around in circles. I don't know.
All right, thanks, Darrell. Let's go to Glenn.
Waltrip then headed west to Phoenix on November 5th. As he raced Ryan Newman, who was making his first Cup start that day, TNN did a report on a trophy presented to DW by a fan.
Look at this beautiful trophy that was presented to Darrell by a fan here. The inscription says, "May this award represent our thanks for all the great memories and tell you that we, the fans, love you and wish you, Stevie, Jessica, and Sarah nothing but the best. We will miss you. Haley James Sisson is the fan. It is a beautiful trophy."
807 starts as of today for Darrell Waltrip, 84 wins, 59 poles, 3 championships, 3 times driver of the year, the 1989 Daytona 500 winner. Perhaps more important than all of that, he has brought personality to this sport, and we will all miss him. At least behind the wheel, we're sure going to hear a lot of him next year, and I am sure of that.
In the race, Waltrip stayed on the lead lap for nearly half the distance and climbed as high as 24th, but wound up 33rd, 2 laps down. 2 days later, it was announced that Todd Bodine would run a third Travis Carter machine in the Atlanta finale, running the number 46. At Homestead the previous year, Waltrip had finished last, the second inaugural race where he had anchored the field. But in the 2000 running on November 12th, he managed 36th, out after 94 laps with handling woes. With that, there was just one race left, the Napa 500 at Atlanta, his 809th Cup Series start.
This will be a weekend for sadness and also a weekend for celebration. This gentleman right here has given us so many wonderful memories over the years. 30 years, 84 victories, and Sunday he makes his 56th and final start at Atlanta. And Darrell Waltrip, my friend, it is sad, but it's also happy that you have given us so many wonderful things to think about over the years. So what goes through your mind here in the final qualifying session of your career?
Well, I've been carrying this old suitcase around a long time, and, you know, it's gotten kind of heavy here lately. I think I'll just put her down, unpack her, and spend some time at home with the girls. I'm looking forward to it, and, you know, I've had a wonderful career. I've accomplished everything I ever hoped to, and the people have been wonderful, and, you know, I just want to get this weekend over with. It'd be real easy for me to start crying right now, so I don't want that to happen.
Let me just say this, 3 times you stood on the stage at the end of the year, but for all of us at ESPN, for the millions watching at home, you will always be a champion.
Yeah, well, you know, ESPN's been a good friend to all of us, and they've helped make us what we are. And it was exciting early on to win races and watch them back on ESPN. It never got no better than that, I can tell you.
And good luck to you.
Thanks.
Darrell Waltrip, the legend, walking away on Sunday afternoon.
Todd Bodine took 5th in qualifying, then was interviewed as DW took his final timed lap.
I'm so excited about next year. I can't like describe it. I mean, to have a good sponsor like Kmart, to be with Travis and Carl with car owners, got a great group of guys, put good race cars together. I'm excited. I can't wait. And hopefully Sunday we can run all day, run up front, get a good finish. You know, we don't need to win the race. We need to run good and get the team pumped up for next year. I mean, we're going to run good next year, and I'm excited.
Your teammate for the weekend, Darrell Waltrip, on the clock right now.
Yeah, I tell you, it's you know, it's all a little bittersweet for us to see Darrell go. I'm proud and honored to be the one to take his place. A lot of people have said, how are you going to feel if Darrell wash up shoes? And I said, you're not. You know, I'm not going to try. We're going to take those shoes. We're going to set them aside, and we're going to start fresh. And Darrell's going to be great for everybody being up in the booth. He's such an ambassador for our sport. You know, I'm proud to be taking over for him.
All right, let's find out how he did. Thanks, Todd.
Not too good. 29.696 seconds with average speed 186.692 miles per hour, just 34th best.
Waltrip would fall back on a provisional and start last in his final race. In a media event before the race, Waltrip was presented with several gifts. To represent the state of Georgia, he was awarded a set of golf clubs and a round of golf at Augusta National. He received an honorary Citizen of Georgia designation, a state flag, and a poster of the Napa 500 program. Billy Ray Cyrus presented him with a copy of his latest album.
And there's a real special song on there we put on this album just for you. It's track number 7. It's called Burn Down the Trailer Park.
All right, Burn Down the Trailer Park.
There were also gifts from several of his fellow competitors. Among these were a mounted steering wheel from Jeff Gordon, a Crystal Cross from Dale Jarrett, and a commemorative Kellogg's box from Terry Labonte. When Labonte presented his gift, Waltrip was quick to mention the incident at Bristol a year earlier.
I don't have to tell you that Terry Labonte is one of the nicest men in Winston Cup racing. And even though I spun him out at Bristol when he was leading the race, he knows it was an accident. And
Rusty Wallace was equally quick to make sure Waltrip didn't forget about the Winston in 1989.
To DW. Just to remember, a reminder of that wonderful year. I wrote on here, too, Darrell, enjoy your retirement to the fullest. I see you're still trying to back into me.
Darrell's brother Michael had some unfinished business to take care of.
But in 1986, I was in Riverside, California, and I never had borrowed any money from you or bothered you for anything, but I didn't have no money, and I needed to get home, and I got $200 from you, and I said, I'll pay you back. And so there.
Wow. Wow.
That's
came at a good time.
And Dale Earnhardt did this.
And we argued about it and talked about, well, so when we retire, we can sit on the porch and talk about how many races and how many championships I've won. And he said, yeah, and you've never won the Daytona 500. So we talked about sitting on the porch and talking. And since he's retiring, I think I'd got him a little something here for the porch. And I brought you a little...
Man, that ain't near as good as the last seat you gave me.
Well... You can get a head start in the rocking chair here, Darrell, and you know, when I do retire, and NASCAR is not going to put a mandatory 50-year-old retirement deal out there.
I did that for you, buddy.
No, don't do me no favors. But you get me a rocking chair, and then we can kick back and rock and talk about the rest of these guys and what they're doing wrong. But I've enjoyed racing with this guy, so many races, and we've argued a lot, run into each other a lot, had a lot of fun, but he's a true champion and got a great family, Stevie, and the kids, and it's been a lot of fun, a lot of memories. Don't talk too bad about me next year.
With that, all that was left to do was to run the race. But rain pushed it one more day to Monday, November 20th.
Darrell Waltrip makes his final ride today in the number 66 car. Darrell is a cultural icon in NASCAR. And folks, from my heart, I have to say that Darrell has been one of the greatest things that I think has ever happened to NASCAR. Yeah, he talks a lot. Today, he hopes to drive a lot and work his way to the front. It's the final goodbye to Darrell Waltrip.
the racetrack, Darrell Waltrip leads the field of the other 42 cars. Saluting the fans and allowing the fans to salute him as he ends his great career. His family riding there in the convertible ahead of him. And every single person gathered here today. And despite the fact that it's a Monday and it's cold, a great crowd has turned out for this final race of the year. And I imagine a lot of them are here especially to see this moment. Darrell Waltrip taking that final traditional ceremonial lap around the racetrack. He has been a great champion. He's been a great ambassador to the sport. We at ESPN salute Darrell Waltrip and the sport that he has competed in for so many years and the passion that has driven him to be the competitor he is.
It's passion. I don't know how many people understand what passion means. I have a passion for racing. It's what excites me. It's what I dream about. I look at a race car and I get excited. When it cranks up and the engine's roaring, I get really excited. When I get in it and I go around the racetrack and it's running beautifully, it's running to perfection, and I'm driving like nobody's ever driven before, it's gratification. It's all the things to me that are important. Everything in my life, I mean, I love my family, my children, my wife, I love God, but that race car, it's like I put it on. It's like a coat. It's like my favorite sport coat. I put it on, and when I put it on, I look good. That's what it is to me.
And the crowd has saluted DW, thanking him for all the great memories that he has given us through the years. And now every team assembled on pit road comes out and high fives Darrell Waltrip.
Well, it's got to be a great feeling for him and for them to be able to do that.
Wow, that is unbelievable. There must be 600 crewmen there, all saluting Darrell Waltrip as he goes down pit road.
Will it be hard for Darrell now to put this out of his mind just in the next couple of minutes and take the green flag and start racing? I would think so.
It will be. Yes, it will be. Because I'm sure there are a bunch of tears going down his cheeks now, but in about 60 seconds, he's got to forget about all that and try to go down in turn one and dodge all those wrecks. Oh, I'm sorry.
Waltrip finished 34th in the finale, 7 laps down. He was heard to say goodbye, race car, as he climbed out for the final time. A few weeks later, Waltrip was honored during the Winston Cup banquet. He took the stage with his wife Stevie by his side.
Well, I don't know what to say. I had no idea that this was going to happen, and you know, I'm like so many others in this room. I am no different than all the other guys that have been in this sport, done what I've done, competed on the tracks I have competed on, and I'm no different than those other guys. I have a huge love for this sport, the people in it. I'm so fortunate because next year I still get to be in this sport. I am retiring as a driver, but I'll still be in the sport and be able to be with the people I love. This is my sanctuary. This is where I long to be. When I was a little kid, I longed to be here tonight on stage. Now, there's been 3 of these things that I've really enjoyed. And this one will certainly be the most memorable one of all the others. So I truly thank you folks, and Mr. France, It does my heart so much good to be able to look over there and see you here tonight, and that you're still out there giving us all those tips. That's what he calls them. And I look forward to working in the TV booth and having you be my ears to tell me how I'm doing. It's going to be a great year next year, and I thank you very much. Thank all of y'all. I'm babbling a little bit, but thank you very much. And this is as much a part of all this as I tell people when they were talking about retiring, and it was the end of my career, and Stevie said, don't forget it's the end of my career too. So she's been right here with me the whole time, and thank you from our hearts, and we just look forward to doing a good job for the sport in another way.